today we'll be focusing on big beams. So out of this Saligna hardwood log, we'll be sawing 6x4 and 12x4. So sharpening's a very easy process on the saw. You use the same drill that powers the saw up and down to actually sharpen your blade. So you just pop that pin in, line the hole up like so, and so that's one. You don't need to get carried away with sharpening, you just want to feel the front edge of your tooth. That's all you're trying to sharpen. It'll wear down to the full face eventually. Okay, for horizontal sizing, so you just roll this around to the bottom line of that black mark right there to the top edge of the indicator. And then you just follow it around as a radial ruler. So if you want to go to 25, you wind it to 25, or 50. Now you do have imperial here, so if you're 2 inches, that's 2 inches right there. Now you don't want to wind to your point and go, oops, I went too far, and just wind it back a little bit, because you'll lose some accuracy from one end to the other. So go back and then wind to your required measurement right there. Same thing applies to here, the vertical sizer, but it's the opposite direction. So again, to the bottom line, move through your curve to your mark. So we're going to go down, down, and that's 1 inch. Again, if you go too far, you don't want to just go back to there. You want to go right up 1 inch and then try again. So that's it. So that way it's accurate as you go down both ends. So before we start milling, what I like to do is I'll swing the blade into vertical. And I'll just sight that blade from one end of the log down to the other. So that blade should be perfectly center through your log. I've already aligned it, so that's good. Swing the blade into horizontal, and this is for your first cut. So I again sight the blade down the log from one end to the other, and we want to be about 1 inch to 2 inches below the edge of the log to start, which it is. So we're good to go. So we've taken the top slab off, and we've made some fillets over here. So you saw that driving forward, back and forth, and then plunging in at the other end again, bringing it back, cut some more free. So now we've got a good face. So I would say we should take a vertical drop. I'll go down 6 inches, and we're going to cut a bunch of 6x4, and maybe even a 12-inch to start with on this side. Okay, so I'm going to drop it down 12-inch, and then I'm going to come back up 6-inch after that. Okay. So we bring it back to the curve mark right there, and down 12 inches. We're just following that dial all the way around. until it gets to 12 inches. We go to 300 mils as a preference. All right, so then I just wind it back to the entry cut again, all the way. And we repeat the process. It's important to note, because we're doing deep vertical cuts, you've got to get that blade lined up perfectly straight to the beam. And you've got to ensure that water's getting on that blade too. Until we have a nice long orange. Right, so there's a couple of things here to point out that we're still not cutting optimally. And the reason I say that is you can check the intersect point where the blade comes through. So there should be a little square here, all the way along the length of the cut. All the way down here. Which it's pretty consistent all the way through here. But we're getting a predominant score marks on the front edge, so the blade is creeping off to that direction, and we want to straighten it true. So that should come out nice and clean. So what I'm going to illustrate here is as I turn the saw on again, and as I drive it back into the cut, I can predict that that blade is going to want to cut this edge here as I drive it back forward into the cut, and it shouldn't. It should just go straight in there and just maybe touch that slab face there. So we need to adjust that blade just a little bit so that that comes out true. And the deeper the cut, that's when you tell that your adjustment's out. So I'm just going to start the saw, drive it back in there. Well, it's actually pretty close, so it's not as bad as I thought it was. So I'm just going to leave it as is and carry on. I'll do one more 12 by, and then I'll raise it up and I'll do a series of 6-inch. What do you reckon, Quinn? More 12-inch or go back to 6? Pretty nice boards. We're getting into the heart though, so we'll probably want to cut above the heart. We'll bring it up to 6 inches, so we'll just show you how to bring it back up from 12 inches. So here we go. We're going to follow that scale all the way back. So now we're 275, 10-inch, 8-inch, 7-inch, 6-inch. So I'll go up higher and then I'll lower it down onto the 6-inch. Go down. Okay, now that's going to be a nice, accurate 6-inch. So I'm going to go down 6 inches, 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch, right? So wind that back, ready to go. Start her up, water's on. getting that out. Pull it into the slug. There we go. Just keep that again. To go into that cut slowly here, because we'll get bounce, chatter, it's sprung open. That's not so bad. Right, so the board return, this timber is very hard, so unless you're cutting like 2-inch stock, 1-inch stock, the capstan drive is just going to slip on you. So, you know, removing big timbers is obviously best, pulling it right beside the saw here. A forklift would be ideal. I've got a digger, so we'll stack this after we're done. What you would have noticed is as I was coming back in the vertical, you saw a little bit of chatter. And that's quite common when you get into the lower of the log. So in that situation, all you have to do is swing up into the vertical and drive forward in the cut, and you'll see that just completely go away. So if you're starting to get a little bit of bounce like this from your log being too light, reverse the pattern and drive forward in the cut. Come back, forward in the cut, and then cut them all free sectionally.